¿Se habrá caído acá?
Café, eso es lo que necesitamos.
Va a estar frío el weekend. Coffee de unos días. Vamos, Dani, ¿cuál es la
Coffee.
impresión?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. How are you?
Yes, still working. Hello, hi. My name is Daniel Maldonado, and today I'll be giving my speech to inform you about Puerto Rican coffee. So, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Who here likes coffee? Or better yet, who here likes café con leche? Ah, me too. I include myself. I have to be honest with you. When I was a kid, I used to drink a lot of coffee. Yeah. My mom used to make coffee when we were like sick from school, you know, when it was cold outside and we wanted something warm to warm us up. We drink some coffee with milk, you know, coffee with crackers, coffee with guayaba, coffee with pan con mantequilla, you know, coffee was in my life. So I think I'm a little bit, I can talk to you about our Puerto Rican coffee. And it's exquisito, it's delicious. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the history about coffee. You know, coffee was brought to our island back in the day. The coffee was first introduced to the island in the 18th century by according to R. Aticena and Cardona of Rose magazine. Arabica coffee seeds first arrived to Puerto Rico in 1736, and it was brought by Corsicans who settled in the mountains. In the 19th century, coffee became the top agricultural product of Puerto Rico, just second to tobacco and sugarcane. So it was a big industry in the 19th century, and it was such a big industry because Puerto Rico has such a rich soil. You know, the Cordillera Central, the central mountain area is very rich and it's ideal to grow coffee there. So here I want to present you some of our most popular coffee brands. So here we have Café Yaucono, Café Rico, y Café Crema. Those are the main brands of Puerto Rico. They actually have joined together. So the owner of these companies own 70% of the market in Puerto Rico. So they have joined forces to become the super coffee place. But here are some of the premium coffee that makes Puerto Rican coffee so special. We got Café Alto Grande, Café Yaucono Selecto, y Café Ajuntas. So Ajuntas is one of the towns I visited to Puerto Rico when I was in high school, and I learned about the coffee in Ajuntas. They process their own coffee, they package it. It's like if you ever go to Puerto Rico, visit Ajuntas. It's like a little small town, and they have the best coffee in Puerto Rico. So the coffee of Puerto Rico, well, we also have coffee that is exported. Back in the 1800s, we used to be the biggest export of coffee, number 6 in the world. You know, we had the best coffee, and they came from all parts of the world, and we used to export over 600,000 pounds of coffee. We still export, especially to kings and places of high class. We do export every year to the Pope, the Popal coffee, they call it, coffee of kings and popes. So we do have that's coming from the Hacienda Alto Grande. In the 18th century, many communities progressed from the industry of coffee, and they flourished. They had a lot of production, and that progress continues till today. It is a part of Puerto Rican tradition for every person, young, old, Latino, Black, Spanish, everybody drinks coffee in Puerto Rico, you know. And they drink it almost any time, you know, in the morning, in the evening, after work, before work, at work, before bed, to go to sleep. So people, believe it or not, the coffee, they need it to function. So, you know, coffee is a big part of the Puerto Rican culture. As Michael, now also, you know, and they drink coffee at different places. You know, we can drink coffee at work in different places. So continuing on, however, did you know that nowadays Puerto Rico is no longer producing as much coffee as once before? The decline of the coffee production in the 20th century. You know, one of the things that had declined is because, you know, after we reached a peak in the 1890s, you know, something happened after the war that there was a big decline. You know, a lot of the workers, they started working at companies that will pay more. They started working in construction. They started modernizing and working in big cities. So they kind of moved from the rural areas, a lot of the people. So nowadays, you know, about 35% of the coffee goes to waste because there is basically nobody picking the coffee. You know? It's manual labor, so a lot of people don't want to pick coffee. You know, it's like what happened here in Georgia. You know, they took away all the immigrants, and now a lot of people, they don't want to pick the fruit there, and you know, it's just the labor is not there to pick the coffee. And other reasons why the decline of the coffee is because maybe natural disasters had happened. You know, a lot of hurricanes, they destroy all these old haciendas, and they just have no infrastructure for the coffee production in some areas. But there is still a lot of vibrant and old school haciendas that are still doing really good. Now, why is the coffee so prestigious in Puerto Rico? Why do we care about the coffee in Puerto Rico? Well, let me tell you, Puerto Rico has such a rich soil. Like if you ever go to the mountain areas, it's a really rich, like you can just throw any seed there and boom, appears. So Puerto Rico, and especially in the mountain areas, it's the perfect climate and the perfect altitude to grow good quality coffee. And Puerto Rican coffee tastes so wonderful. You know, when you roast the coffee, it's delicious. Now, a lot of people come from different parts of the world, and they come especially to visit Puerto Rico because of the history and the haciendas that they have, and they come to Puerto Rico to tour, and they go and visit all these historical haciendas where they still grow coffee to today. Now, I have spoken about the history of the coffee, why it has been in decline, and finally we had discussed why Puerto Rican coffee is still one of the best in the world. It is amazing that the coffee that we produce in our island gives us our culture and history. And even though the coffee production in Puerto Rico has declined, the quality has never diminished. It has remained as exquisite as in the 1800s. For that reason, many people still visit and travel our island to savor the taste of the one and only coffee of Puerto Rico. Thank you, everybody. And we will have some coffee giving